Well, today we'll take a look at how the media covers small businesses and also the township economy. Are these businesses getting adequate attention? We unpack this and so much more. Well, hello and welcome to Media and Society. I'm your host, Naledi Muleo. As usual, this is the show where we take a look at the intersection between the media and society. And as usual, the show really isn't complete without your input. So feel free to give us a call over the next hour. The number is 011-714-0661 or 0662, or tweet us using the hashtag SABC Media Society. We start here this morning. Maintaining visibility and accessibility within your customer base really stands as a challenging yet a pivotal strategy for the triumph of a small business. Now, while social media undeniably remains an important instrument for marketing and advertising outreach, traditional advertising mediums such as radio, television, and even newspapers continue to wield substantial influence. Now, this significance holds particularly true in regions like ours, where universal data democratization and widespread Wi-Fi access are still aspirations on the horizon. Very concerning. But in a country with frightening unemployment statistics, today we ask, is the media taking part in the drive to assist small businesses to succeed? And if yes, what more can be done? Well, joining us to participate in this much needed conversation, we are joined by Palisa Kambula from the Soweto Business Hub. Palisa, thank you so much for joining us. A good morning to you.
Good morning, how are you?
Really good to have you with us. We're also joined via Zoom by Londeka Dlamini, who's the founder of Izinga Creators. Londeka, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Daniel Seleme is a marketing and digital specialist at We Love SA and Nkambeni Creations. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you.
Really good to have you with us. We have our very own joining us via Zoom as well, Diabo Setu, who is an SABC economics journalist and anchor for SME On Point. Diabo, welcome back to work.
Good morning, Naledi. Good to be on the other side.
Great stuff. Really good to have you with us. We're also joined in studio by Ms. Hanim Tembu, who is the owner of Prestige Leaders Consulting. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I want to start with you, Diabo, and perhaps I think as a media specialist, you're the right person to really start to paint the picture for us, right? The importance of a show like yours, SME On Point, and why you thought this was an important show for us to have in the first place in this country.
Thank you for that question, Naledi. So in my quest of trying to understand the economy, as you know, I also double up as an economics reporter. I was reporting on a lot of unemployment stories. It was unemployment quarter after quarter from Stats SA. That is when I reached out to the then economics editor, Tandeka Kubule, to say, how about we do a show on small businesses? But let's structure it differently. Let's look at people who look like the people who are unemployed, but who are doing good things. Let's bring that to traditional media. Let's bring that to the SABC platform, and let's give them hope. There is no point in always showing businesses that are worth millions and millions and selling the idea to someone who's sitting at home who could start small with selling, say, spinach or maybe oil or milk or something, and you try to give them hope. So what we try to do is we try to show people who are at home, who are aspiring entrepreneurs, and those who have lost hope, really, that you can start where you are, you can start small, and we bring that every Friday so that it is a constant reminder that every Friday at 1:30, you are more likely to see someone who's doing something that's amazing that you can also take part in. So that was the whole idea behind it, Naledi.
Yeah, really good. I mean, it's such an important project because so often when you do look at mainstream media and you look at the advertising, it is coming from the big businesses, the big brands, but we say over and over again that the jobs are going to come from the small businesses. But let's find out about the work that is being done by our panel this morning. Daniel, tell us a little bit about your work and what it is that you do.
I form part of a two-way street, I guess. We work with Nkambeni Creations in Johannesburg, where we look at solutions from the small businesses to SMEs to how do we integrate them facilitating getting the best through what are their marketing initiatives and how can they expand on their businesses. And I mean, from a digital perspective, which is primarily where I come in, is how do we find solutions? How do we just nudge it a bit so that we can do the targeting a little bit more easier for them, where they can create revenue as well through their content that they're creating? How can they spin that throughout so they can have a much more understanding who they are and who they're targeting in the Springfield? So I think digital marketing and media has changed a lot of the landscape tremendously in such a way. I mean, there's so many things now that a lot of businesses can try out and do. And the best part about it, I guess, is the fact that you can get reports and insights on a much more quicker affair. I like having to wait for a different time frame to get in some form of insight. So, yeah.
So your space is largely the digital media space and giving small businesses access to that space. Important work, because for a lot of us, listen, if my grandmother ran, a store in Alexandra, I think if you had come to her and said digital media, she would have been very intimidated. So someone needs to be that in between. Ms. Honey, talk to us about Prestige Leaders Consulting.
Thank you so much for having me in the studio in the first place, and thanks to the viewers. Prestige Leaders Consulting is a training company. We are in the soft skills training. We are accredited with PCETA, which means we are in the public sector, but we have extended our scope to other sectors as well. So we do the train the trainer, which is a facilitator, assessor, and moderator courses with ETDP PCETA. And we are also in the mining space, or largely our clients are in the mining space. So we are also concerned with training young businesses as well as small businesses in Soweto, with the startups, the entrepreneurships, and all of that. So that's what we do.
Just out of interest, how big of a reach do you have? And I'm talking about the interest, particularly from those that are starting businesses. I think what I'm asking is, are we actually starting businesses?
We are starting businesses. We may be able to start them, but we are unable to sustain them. So that's where the drive should be, because it's easy to start. Maybe you can get lessons on how to start and get resources, but we need adequate resources to could actually maintain those businesses. So that is why sometimes they give us about a year or 2 years for startups to say, if you have sustained it longer than that, then it means you have a chance. In this business world.
Londek, I'm going to come to you. Talk to us about Izinga Creatives.
Thank you, Naledi. So Izinga Creatives is a marketing company. We started mainly with digital marketing, and we were doing work which is similar to, giving spotlight to small businesses that were coming up, helping them brand. And the motivation behind it was because I was working in the advertising agency, and some of the times I would see how we do have good businesses, but we just lacked being able to brand them and being able to position them correctly in the markets. So when we started out, we did focus on small businesses where we do content storytelling. So we make sure that their visuals look good, their branding, so that their brand story is well told. However, as the business has grown, we have now moved to marketing and public relations with bigger companies, and then we find ourselves on the other side now, positioning those companies. Even though we are an SMME, we're still responsible in trying to get them exposure in platforms such as the SABC, the newspapers, and the other traditional platforms that you have found. So our passion is to try and help our people get to that place where they can also find themselves advertising on those platforms, but obviously budgets is always a challenge.
We're gonna get more out of you, because I think you've managed to crack the code, and I'd love to hear, what you've learned and how small businesses can learn from you then, and being able to access those big platforms, because that's where every business wants to see yourself. Palesa, talk to us a little bit about the Soweto Business Hub.
Okay, thank you for the invite, and thank you to the viewers. The name is Palesa Kambule, and from Soweto Business Forum. Soweto Business Forum was actually established way years before, but then the executive that I currently sit at started 7 years ago, where we found that many businesses that were running in Soweto, they were more of tenderpreneurs instead of being entrepreneurs. So our aim and goal was that we wanted to build entrepreneurs in the township. And I don't believe in the name of small business, because a business is just business. When you make money, you are a business. And now Soweto Business Forum has 7 sectors, which has more than 5,000 companies, plus minus 5,000 companies in those 7 sectors.
Wow.
So we are actually building entrepreneurs, because that was the main focus of saying you cannot say you are into business, but at the end of the day, you are just carrying a lot of papers saying you are looking for tenders. So if you are into business, prove to us that you can make 50 rands a day. Then that's who we are.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it speaks to the imaging that we have perhaps put forward over the years about what businesses in the township look like. We say the businessman is the tenderpreneur, which is clearly not the case. Diabo, I'm going to bring you in here, because you interact with small to medium enterprises constantly. And let's talk about that imaging. I mean, is the issue here that even in the mainstream media, when we speak about small businesses, we need to put forward a better image of small businesses and make it more aspirational?
Absolutely. You're right, Naledi. Because traditional media has such a powerful reach, when you look at the reach that we have at the SABC, I mean, it's millions and millions of people. And it's important that, the way we shape a person's business, so that this speaks to my responsibility as a reporter. When I speak of, for instance, Londega's business, it's important to portray it in its true sense, in terms of the opportunities that are there, as well as the challenges that are there. So a great responsibility lies on the reporter's shoulders when it comes to how it is putting the image of the said business in this media platform, whether it is a radio, TV, a podcast, or a newspaper. However, what I have found in my quest of speaking to a lot of small businesses, Naledi, is that most lack the understanding of playing into what I can call current affairs, right? Which is one of the things that can bring them into the conversation about what's happening in the country. One of the biggest challenges that in my early years of starting SME on Point is that many would say, I don't really want to talk about economic policy or unemployment or how politics is affecting businesses. I just want to be a small business or an entrepreneur and do what I need to do and make money and create jobs or whatever. And I found that was the wrong approach. Businesses that come to the fore and want to participate in the bigger discussion, for instance, right now, what's happening at BRICS, looking at whether forums such as BRICS actually are useful to entrepreneurs and small businesses. Those are the kind of things that help elevate the image of a small business, because now you're contributing to the bigger story. When it's unemployment, for instance, that we saw stats say earlier this week, giving us the numbers that in the second quarter unemployment was slightly down. I would like to see more small businesses starting blogs, or even saying, I want to talk about how easy or how difficult it is to employ a person in my small business, which could ultimately feed into the narrative about labor policies. And you could maybe hear the Minister of Labor could maybe be listening and understand the intricacies that businesses go through when it comes to labor policies. So those are the kind of challenges, and I find that maybe the probably missed opportunities in that many do not want to participate in what is currently taking place in the country and really want to stay more in their corner.
Yeah, is the issue, Diabo, that, I mean, as a journalist as well, and I'm going to sit with you for a little bit, because you and I do similar work in that we interact with businesses similarly, right? Is the issue that when we speak to small to medium enterprises, what we're doing is we problematize small to medium enterprises. So when we're at stage 6 load shedding, we then go to SMMEs to say, are you going to close down? And not really the positive stories. I mean, do we do that all too often, or am I being a little bit, over the top there?
I don't think we do that, Naledi. I think what we are doing is really trying to put them in the first line and say, how does this impact you? Because we know of how vulnerable small businesses and entrepreneurs are. And if you have an unstable, for instance, power supply, they would be the first people that are impacted. They would be the first people that close down. And if you have more small businesses closing down, what then are the prospects of job creation or contributing to the economic story as a whole? So I don't think we problematize or put them in problems, as you say, but more that we really want to find out the impact of what they have. Maybe we can go further and say what then should be done, and maybe not staying at, 100 small businesses are closing their doors. Oh, government, can you see this? Rather, maybe ask for the solutions from small businesses themselves, because the entrepreneurship landscape is that is solution based, right?
Right. Okay. So you make an interesting point there. So lest we sound like we're talking to ourselves here, let's bring you in here. Talk about what you've learned through the Soweto Business Forum, right? Around really the challenges that small businesses have in getting some sort of visibility. What's the biggest complaint that you get from your members?
First thing is that with the name as well, always saying I'm a small business, but a day I'm able to make 10 to 20,000 rand. So you understand there is an information that is short in that issue. So many of our members are basically spaza shop owners, and you find that it's a South African-based spaza that is making a turnover in a month of 500,000, but that person is still caged under the name of being a small business. So even their self-confidence is demoralized. So when it comes to saying that, are you aware that what you are making, you can have 2 or 3 employees so that you reduce the number and the stats of unemployment? And also what then we discovered was that in the township, especially in Soweto, most people there are doing businesses that are not formal, but are informal. And the traders that are informal are the ones that are making more money than the formal businesses. So it was all about packaging them, and so that they understand that we are in business, and with this business we can make a difference in our societies and in our township. So I feel the biggest challenge that this country has, I will always fight for this name. I started my business in 1999, and today I'm still called small, even myself. So when am I growing up? I'm forever small. So I just feel good to this barrier, this name, it's keeping people in a certain space that they are not able to grow.
Yeah, let's and I'm going to come back to the issue of the media though, because now you've talked about just how much success informal businesses have versus formal businesses. I mean, what's the role that myself and Diabo then have? Is it to get on air and educate people on how to formalize, or to create platforms even for the informal business?
We have created a platform, a Soweto Business Forum. After COVID hit us, we realized that everything has to happen digital. You know, so many offices were closed down. But so many people that were working online, they were able to pursue their businesses. So we had to feel good to how do we close the gap? And that's when we came up with the platform. It's called Kasi Connect, because we are trying to bring everybody, the community, the entrepreneurs, the suppliers on the platform, so that even when you get the stats about the township, you get the real stats, not a thumbsuck stat.
Yes.
That's saying 34% of our youth is unemployed, whereas 17% of the youth is doing informal trading.
Yeah.
So is these people employed or not? So you don't know. So the media has a big role to play, but where will the media get the information? That is when we said, let us design a platform that is strictly based for Kasipreneurs, so that we get that information in the correct way.
What is the platform called again?
Kasi Connect.
Kasi Connect.
Yes,
that's something to look out for if you are, of course, in Soweto. I see Daniel smiling when you talked about the digital media space. He's rubbing his hands and thinking, there goes my business as well. Honey, I'm going to come to you and talk a little bit about the complaints that you hear from people that are starting out their businesses, where they struggle with getting visibility in your view.
They are struggling to start off with. There is so much stigma that comes with being in Soweto. Hence, she is indicating, or rather talking to the fact that we will always be called small businesses. For instance, I am an accredited business, that is actually operating at a very high level, to be honest. We're operating at recognized mines. But simply because I am in Soweto, I will still be viewed as a small business. And the worst thing about it, I would not want to get out of Soweto because there is so much that comes with being in Soweto. And like she's saying now, there is this Kasi platform that they have opened. We would never have known about it until media has to go to Soweto, or she comes to media and say, I am here, recognize us. They never go to Soweto in that space or that deep. So people never get their recognition. Advertising alone in business is difficult. That is why they only use platforms like your social media platforms, your Facebook, your Twitter, and the other platforms.
Yeah.
But they never use the platforms that are reaching even the nation, like now being on television. Television never goes into that space. There are other digital companies that are there in Soweto, like the boardroom that was there when BRICS was launched in Soweto on Tuesday. It's a small business. They will be streaming on YouTube maybe. They'll be streaming on their own internet. Where was media in society?
Yeah.
The big platform where everyone would be watching
Yeah.
because it's a space that is safe for certain clientele.
Yeah.
So we do not have media coverage at all that we would have required.
Yeah.
There could have been exhibitions that are done clearly in Soweto. Just Soweto-based entrepreneurs doing their own exhibition, but having the big media houses coming through.
Doesn't happen.
No.
We go to the Sandton Convention Center.
Exactly. You see, classical example was yesterday. Yesterday there was a women's seminar at Vilakazi Street, at Sud in Vilakazi Street. The coverage that was there was our Soweto-based coverage, but there was no media that would be visible at that space.
Yeah.
And then there was another one at Galaga Estate, and that was BRICS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get
Now,
into that.
now you know.
No. And this is part of, so I need to defend myself a little bit here, honey, because the reason, part of the thing that sparked this discussion actually was the summit that took place in Soweto around township
Tuesday.
economies, yes, this week with BRICS. And so we're going to be speaking to Mr. Bheki Twala, who will tell us all about that as well. We take a short break. We continue with this discussion on the other side of this, but feel free to give us a call. What is it that you'd like to see the media do to give more visibility to your small business? Give us a call on 011-714-0661. We're back in a moment. Welcome back. You're still watching Media and Society, taking your calls on 011-714-0661. This is our discussion this morning. Advertising holds the power to significantly influence sales and revenue. It makes it a substantial investment as well for your business. When executed skillfully, an impactful advertising campaign can effectively reach a wide audience within your target market and also prompt them to make decisions that benefit your enterprise. But media platforms such as radio and television possess the capability to reshape the course of small businesses. But are they doing so? As we ask that question, we are joined by Mr. Bheki Twala, who is the president of the Township Economic Commission of South Africa, who brought BRICS to small businesses this week. Still joined via Zoom by Londeka Dlamini, founder of Izinga Creatives, Diabo Seto, SABC economics journalist and anchor for SME On Point, Palesa Kambule of the Soweto Business Forum. Daniel Seleme also in studio with us. He's a marketing and digital specialist at We Love South Africa and Nkambeni Creations. Bautwala, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Sister Lady. Thank you for having us. We are very excited to be here. Thank you.
I have to say that this week, watching the news cycle and seeing BRICS, right? These are the emerging economies of the world. The 5 big emerging economies of the world converge on small businesses in South Africa was quite a thing to see. Tell us about how you managed to pull that off.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting. For the first time in the history of BRICS to have breaks in the township. The township businesses and the township entrepreneurs, they've managed to bring breaks in the township. We are very excited because remember, when the president says we must make sure that no one is left behind,
Yes.
we can't, make sure, we just had to make sure that the township businesses and the informal economies in the township are not left behind. This is why we managed to create that platform. Yes, we were very excited, the support from DERCO and also from the BRICS, directorate, and also the minister from the presidency who blessed us, on the day. We were very excited. We were saying we've then created our own platform now, as businesses in the township, as economies in the township. We've got our own platform. That is why we're inviting the businesses in the township to bring their chairs in this platform.
Yeah, and that, I think it was for the very first time that you were able to see many big media houses converge on the township to talk about township businesses' growth, right? But when you speak to some of those small businesses, Babutwala, let's talk about their visibility on mainstream media outside of that massive platform where you've got bricks converging on the township. What are the concerns that you hear from them?
Yeah, that's our challenge, to be honest with you, because we, as businesses, we are not getting, the attention, most especially from the mainstream media. We do events, without those big activities. You'll invite them, they'll never come, all right? And there's a lot that, businesses, that are doing in the township. It's just that we are not getting the attention as much as the township economy. Remember, township economy is one of the oldest economy. It's been there years. But the challenge is that it was an ignored economy. And you can't ignore an economy that contributes 6% of the total GDP. You understand? It's a big economy. Now we're now saying, we're asking the media to say, look, we are there. Things are happening in the township. Please come, give the township space, and attention as well, so that we're able to assist the businesses in the township. The sort of business, they do a lot of work, but some of those work, you don't see them in the mainstream media.
Yeah. Okay, so let's try and find some solutions now. Londeka, this is where I come to you. You're in the hot seat now. Talk to us a little bit about what the stacking looks like, right? And I mean, as an agency that has continuously assisted businesses, particularly small to medium enterprises, to get visibility, what have you found are the opportunities that they can use? Because, a mom and pop that is perhaps in Alexandra may not be able, and maybe you can answer this question, can that mom and pop afford advertising space on a platform as big as, say, SAFM, for instance?
Thank you, Naledi. You have to be creative. The reality is that space is expensive. Getting on any platform is an expense, and these public platforms that we talk about are businesses at the end of the day, so they need to make their money. So you need to be creative as an entrepreneur on how you get profiled. So I talk about these ladies and gentlemen that have gone before me are talking about how the journalists or the SABC won't come to their women's events. It depends, like if you think about the fact that they are national broadcasters and we are expecting the limited resource to come to every single event, it's not possible. So you need to be creative about how you profile yourself, how you profile your events, and is it newsworthy? The BRICS was covered because it was newsworthy. What story are you telling that people are interested in hearing? What perspective are you coming from? So we always talk about leading in brand storytelling. How do you tell the story of your brand in a way that the newsroom will look and pick it up and say, oh, this is an interesting way? And that's how you get your advertising out there. Yes, on your own platforms with a limited budget, obviously you can use your digital platforms, you can use your Facebooks, and you can boost those whatever events on your own budget and in a very small budget. But as you grow, you start as someone, I think it was Liaba who spoke about having a comment on social issues. That is newsworthy. That is a way of you getting yourself in the forefront. However, even though I've said that, I think that there is something to be spoken about, allowing governments and other people to talk to small businesses about what will help them. I feel like the conversation is always on the other side saying small businesses need help, but it's not necessarily always giving up small businesses the opportunity to say how they need the help.
Yeah.
I think that would really help bridge the gap, because I think I go back to, I don't remember who said it, the term small business, maybe emerging businesses is a better way of putting it that way, because you can't be a small business and making a turnover of 500,000 and a month and employing X amount of people. So I myself get frustrated because I'm still considered a small business, but it is definitely something that needs to be looked at. But just going back to your question on how you overcome the barriers that everyone was talking about. Find a way of making news relevant. Is it relevant? Yes, you have something that's happening every single month. SABC or the newspapers are not employed by you, so they're not going to come to everything. Otherwise, you have to do marketing. Marketing budgets are still very unaffordable for small businesses, unfortunately. Yes, SAFM and a lot of the newspapers and news platforms do have a subsidization for small businesses, but the reality is it's just too expensive for mama on the side of the road. And that is where you use the instances like your social media, etc. And also your story does not necessarily have to be on the national news. You need to look at who your market is and market to those people. So maybe the best thing for you is to do pamphlets and, those kind of things. So that is why it's important for government and all the people, the agencies that are here to assist small businesses to involve business people in finding solutions for the thing and not take a parent-child approach to it. But it's more of a piece that we're working together.
I like that. Okay, Daniel, I'm going to bring you in here. I remember there was a time when, I don't know, this was a long time ago, 2007, if you will, not so long ago, but it feels like a long time ago, when, if you had started a small business, your first thought was, I need a Facebook page.
Sure.
That doesn't work anymore, does it?
But it does and it doesn't. I mean, the narrative of how the landscape of marketing has now changed over time. I mean, there was a time where TV and radio was your own go-to-go. And as you mentioned, 2007 and 2008, and social media was a thing now of targeting individuals. But when you don't have when you don't have a big budget to go on TV and radio, your social media, as Usisi has mentioned now, will probably be your first director of marketing to go into. But then the narrative now in terms of what social media is doing is that it's almost what we call hyper conversation to an individual. You're getting a lot of these ads popping on your timeline and your social media, but then which one am I supposed to choose? Which narrative am I going to take for me to support that local business? So I think the digital landscape has also helped out in terms of digital marketing, because now it's just no longer Facebook anymore. You've got your Twitters, you've got your TikToks, you've got your YouTubes, tons and tons of.
But we need SEO education, right? So 100%. You can reach directly to your target market.
Which goes back to the narrative of your business, and each business is very different. Umamoteng Isa, who sells at a tech shop or has a street vendor, her narrative is very different from Soweto businesses. The businesses that Umama deals with in Soweto are very different. From somebody who has a turnover of 100,000 or 500,000 a year, very, very different, because then the narrative there, you've got a lot more to play with in terms of the conversation you want to have with your targeting. There's certain things you can even try, A/B testing, where it allows you to see, if I do this, how will the response on digital come back to me? If I do that, how will the response be there? So the conversation in terms of marketing now has allowed so much more, even for small SMEs. I mean, if you were doing a turnover of 500,000, definitely you can afford a bit of marketing to do with digital marketing. But when you're small SMEs, rather, or not use the word small.
Yeah, he's looking at Uspalesa for this one.
Correct. So be using those. I mean, it becomes a different conversation then. How you tell the narrative in terms of the products that you're offering, what you're offering. But there's so many success stories that we can talk about regarding marketing and digital marketing overall. You look at Upatu, how it came about. The story started with marketing, and you're looking at him now diversing into different aspects of business now, into fragrance, and now just only focusing on shoes, and has only also going to apparel and clothing. So there's so much in terms of how much digital marketing has helped, and now because of different platforms being able there, not just relying on Facebook, has allowed so many businesses to kind of venture into those and helping them to kind of grow and find themselves. And it's just the same way as you do a business marketing or marketing plan. You have to understand where does your social media fit in?
Right.
How are you going to integrate it?
And when to
where
reach
you're going
out.
to focus on.
Right.
What you do on Facebook could be completely different what you do on Instagram. And you might have a better conversion in Instagram compared to Facebook.
Okay.
So again, the conversation becomes, where do you
Oh,
position
it's
yourself
technical
in the
though.
marketing?
It's
100%.
technical and intimidating. Diabo, I know you need to go, so I need to squeeze one in before we let you go. One of the first problems I see when looking at this issue of giving visibility to emerging enterprises, and I say that as I look at Balisa, is to say this, that perhaps mainstream media needs to be looking at categorizing the advertising brackets that we have, that we don't charge the big supermarket what we do, an emerging enterprise, right? Is that something that we should be advocating for in our own space?
Yeah, precisely. So that is one of the biggest challenges, right, when it comes to advertising, because as a traditional mainstream media, when you see business, you automatically assume that they have money.
Yeah.
But imagine the kind of space that micro enterprises and maybe informal businesses, how they would benefit if they were given a bracket or a smaller price, to say, if you are employing one person, if your turnover is less than 50,000, this is your price for advertising for a 1 minute or something, and then you charge differently according to size and bracket of the business. I think that would definitely play a huge role in at least letting those businesses that do have the financial muscle, that are able to say, I can spend, 30, 50, 100,000 just so that my brand can be visible, because there is a lot of value in that. Because one of the other challenges I find, Naledi, is that maybe sometimes people misunderstand our maybe reporting role in news, and tend to want to use us as an advertising platform.
Right.
And that's not what news, for instance, is for. We are there to tell a news story, like Londega says, you need to give us a news value. So maybe a lot of people misunderstand, and when they say, Diabo would like SME on Point to come and showcase or report on an exhibition that we are doing, maybe look at us from a news value perspective, and not necessarily from you needing marketing and advertising from us, because the kind of story that I'm going to write about that exhibition or that event, you don't have control over it. I can say it how I see it. It can be beneficial, and it can equally be damaging, maybe if things, let's say, for instance, did not go well, or maybe things were not going well at that event. So I think a distinction needs to be made about when we reporters are asked to come and cover an event. Don't look at us as marketing and advertising. Look at us as doing a news service. And then you have people who do media sales and who can do advertising, and see how you can do that. But as Mr. Slimmer said, you can also use traditional social media, which is quite cheap, but people still have not gotten the hang over how to use, for instance, Facebook optimally. They just put their pictures there. Maybe sometimes they're not even a great quality. The video is there. We don't know much about the product and the description of it. So there's still a lot of education, but there is a lot of value that can be derived out of using social media platform for advertising purposes if you do not have the required budget.
Yeah, Diabo, we're gonna let you go. Thank you so much for giving us your time. Diabo Seto, of course, is the anchor of SME on Point. Do take a look at that show. I think she's done a phenomenal job of creating a platform for our small businesses to go to. When we come back, we're going to continue with our panel and talk about where the opportunities are, because one thing that business people will tell you is where there's a problem, there's an opportunity. We'll look for those on the other side of this. Welcome back. You're still watching Media and Society. So a report by the Trade and Industrial Policy Strategy on the current state of small businesses in our country shows how important the sector is for the country's economy. The number of small businesses is still climbing, reaching 1.75 million by the final quarter of 2022. That's a really very close to post-COVID, while the sector directly generates a third of the value added in the country and 30% of total employment. Impressive numbers, right? And now, given this pivotal economic contribution, a pressing question arises: how can the entirety of the media ensure that these numbers only continue to grow? Mr. Bheki Twala, of course, is the president of the Township Economic Commission for South Africa. You brought BRICS to the township, and they got to interact with small businesses. Key lessons that you've learned and opportunities that you saw there for us to give small businesses more visibility.
Yeah, I'm very excited, because we're no longer talking small business here.
Yes, emerging enterprise.
Yeah, I've started the conversation long time ago, about 25 years back, to say, let us be regarded as the corporates, emerging enterprise, township entrepreneurs and township businesses, not small business, because we are business. Now we brought the opportunity, the BRICS opportunity. We need to look at the township to township. Let's bring a favela from Brazil to Soweto.
Wow.
Let's take, a slum, in India to Alexander. Let's take Alexander to, to China as well. But remember when we talk township economy, there's siblings. There's rural economy. There's also a village economy.
Yes, sir.
You can't divorce the three.
Yes.
They go together.
Yes.
Now, when you talk township economy, in your back of your mind, we're covering the rural economy and the village economy. Opportunities are there. We're looking at the trade exchange now. We want to get the BRICS feedback in terms of the resolution, and so that we're able to say, businesses are ready. There are businesses that are compliant. They've got SABC standard. They are, they've got, the proudly South African. They've got barcodes. They're ready to go. We've met with, His Excellency Wamgele Mene for the AFCFTA. We've presented the township economy. We're taking township economy to the free continental free trade area.
Yes.
We're taking now township economy to the global space. Basically, we are saying township economy has arrived.
Yes. I quite like that idea. I don't know why. That gave me shivers. The idea of a business in Alexandria interacting with a business in the favelas in Brazil. I mean, that's an incredible idea. Opportunities that you see here for us. I mean, for the small businesses and particularly for the media, how we maximize on this gap that we see here.
There's a huge gap, especially in digital regarding business. I mean, we touched on them earlier in terms of just alone, even the conversation regarding what is media, and we adding social to media, but if you look at it overall, it's just all media. So if you look at the YouTube now, the conversation of slightly now moving to podcast, you're starting to see a lot more young individuals having conversations about podcasts, having advertisers within their podcast,
Yes.
having 1 million views or even 1 million subscribers on a podcast alone. So the conversation in terms of the opportunities are there. So I think it's up to local businesses or even just emerging businesses to find themselves in terms of where can they fit in. I mean, you're looking at even from a design perspective, there's free platforms where if they don't have a designer, they can use certain elements where they're free and they can actually design that stuff for free. They've got your digital social media platforms. They just need to play around with it to figure out which one is what. I mean, our biggest now in terms of social media is your TikTok. I mean, its slogan says, don't create ads, create TikToks. Why? Because it's more of a narrative, it's more of a conversation
It's
that
a
we
story.
have. It's a storytelling.
Right.
So, and what is the craziest part in terms of insights coming from TikTok is you've been finding a 59-year-old guy who's got a buying power on TikTok.
Yes.
So now you need to understand that the narrative of the mediums and the reach can no longer just be in one place where maybe it's just on newspapers and here, but it can also be broader and you can target that and you just need to find your ways in terms of how you communicate and how you create the narrative.
I love that. Thank you so much. You've essentially painted a picture of the world, and the digital world really is your oyster if you are an entrepreneur. Look at all those avenues to bring your business some visibility. Palisa, from your end, the Soweto Business Forum, you've essentially today really cracked the whip and said, stop calling us small businesses.
Yes.
We're creating the jobs, we're shaping the economy, we are emerging. What are the opportunities that we can help you to continue to emerge?
The first opportunity is like for me to be here today. That was a great opportunity that now the world will know that there is Soweto Business Forum and it's on the ground and it's working in the township. And what else that I've always said from us when we started business, we used to be called the grassroots.
Yes.
And we fought and now we were then called small and medium. So now I'm saying, no, it's more than 25 years I've been to business. I'm no longer small. And I don't think that I'm also medium. I think I'm a business. And another thing that we must also understand, in the township, when you talk of the township economy, the sad part of it is that it's not counted to the people in the township. It's about the big markets or shops that came to the township. And when they are saying there's a turnover of this much, they are not calculating me sitting in my corner, but I'm part of the economy.
Yeah.
And they are not calculating me with my small shop, but they are calculating the big turnovers that are coming from the big shops that are inside the township.
Yeah.
So when we then said with the Business Forum, we want to create a space where the numbers will be correct and make our people to be visible. So the platform which we've then decided, the Kasi Connect, it then gives you, one, we brand you, because another thing about our businesses, they are never branded.
Yes, okay, so you're going to do the whole imaging. I'm running out of time and I need to squeeze this in. Londeka, quickly, Kasi Connect is helping businesses to brand themselves. You're able to help them get out there quickly as you can. Services that you offer, how we get in touch with your work.
Okay, the services that we offer, we do brand strategy, creative design, we do research and insights, and we do content storytelling. But you can find us on www.izingacreatives.co.za. You can also find us on all social media platforms, that is Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as Instagram.
Great.
So, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to everyone. And thank you.
Continue the great work. Londeka Dlamini there, of course, she has been working very hard to give small to medium enterprises, emerging enterprises platforms, and she's the founder of Izinga Creatives. I know you want to share your contact details as well.
100%, and we love SA. They can just follow us there and just find our details. LinkedIn as well, Mahumed Daniel Selime. Or they can also check in Kambini Creatives for also some of the work that we do on social media, how we link creatives, how we link businesses to opportunities. All available, of course, digital platforms.
Yes, and the Kasi Connect is on digital platforms.
Yes, it's a Kasi Connect .online. So the platform automatically then connects to LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Okay, the lot.
Yeah, with me it's simple. Peggy my events Twala. Don't just say Peggy Twala because there's 7 Peggy Twalas there.
Yes.
It's Peggy my events Twala. Then you find me on LinkedIn.
And what's next for the commission? Because you've been able to build this platform for small businesses. To interact with international small businesses. What's next for you?
No, what's next? We're doing the Township Economy Trade and Investment Week in October, which is the whole 7 week, where we'll be doing the Township Economy Trade and Investment Summit, the Township Economy Trade Expo. Now we're saying we are here, come, and then also, but the feedback from BRICS, we'll be doing that as well.
Yeah, looking forward to it, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you guys in studio. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a very insightful conversation, and hopefully you're all continuing your work to create jobs and build the South African economy. The media, I hope, has taken a lesson about how we can continue to assist them to do so. Thank you so much to Mr. Peggy Twala, President of the Township Economic Commission of South Africa, Londeka Dlamini, founder of Izinga Creatives, Diabo Setu, SABC economics journalist and anchor for SME On Point, Palesa Kambule for the Soweto Business Forum, Daniel Seleme, who is marketing and digital specialist as well as at We Love SA at Nkambeni Creations. My name is Naledi Muleo. Thank you so much for joining us. With you again next week, Sunday. Have yourselves a great day.